Okay, hello Cloud Gurus and welcome to this lecture. This lecture we're going to look at how we can generate and export our keys from Cloud HSM. I know sometimes it can feel a bit complicated, a bit of a rabbit warren, so let's just recap what we did. Basically, we went in and provisioned an EC2 instance in which we went and installed all our client software on. We also copied our self-signed certificate to it. We then connected using a private IP address to our Cloud HSM, and we configured the private IP address of the Cloud HSM on our EC2 instance. We then basically had our AWS Cloud HSM command line tools installed, and then we went in and we logged in as our pre-crypto officer. As the pre-crypto officer, we changed our password and that essentially activated our cluster, and now we've become the primary crypto officer, or PCO. We then logged out, logged back in again, and we created our crypto user. We then logged into a new tool, and now we're at the stage where we're going to generate our public and private keys. So if you've got the time, please join me in the console. Okay, so I'm in the console. You can see that I've successfully logged in as Ryan. What we want to do now is we are going to do a bunch of commands. I'm going to make it simple and just keep it in the resources section of the course. So open up once you've downloaded it. So the first thing we're going to do is generate our RSA key pair. It's going to be 2048 bits encryption. So just copy and paste that into the terminal and go ahead and hit enter. This will take a little bit of time, but once it has run, you will see these big lines saying success. Now, what you really want to do is seriously grab a pen and paper and start writing this down. So our public key handle is 6 and our private key handle is 21. So 6 and 21, make a note of that. The next command that we want to do is to generate our symmetry key. Essentially, this is a wrapping key. And in order to export our keys, we must first wrap our private key. So that's what this command does. It generates our wrapping key. So paste that into the console. That will then create a success. The key handle is here. This is going to be my wrapping key, so it's 47. So I'm going to write that down. Now what I want to do now is wrap my private key. In order to do that, I need to run the wrap key command and then the actual key number to be wrapped. So that's 21 for me. It will be something different for you. And then the actual wrapping key. And so for me, this was 47. Again, it will be different for you. And we're going to output it to a thing called my wrapping key. So I'm going to change this. So I'm going to enter in my wrapping key, like I said. So that is 47. So I'm going to wrap my key. This is my private key. So my private key was 21. Or for you, it might be something different. And then what is our wrapping key ID? Well, it's 47 for me. So it's whatever the last output was for you. So what we want to do is copy that into our clipboard and paste it into our terminal window. This has now wrapped my key. And then what we want to now go ahead and do is we're going to export our private key. We can only export our private key once our key has been wrapped. In order to export our private key, we need to know our private key number as well as our wrapping key ID. So my private key was 21 and my wrapping key ID was 47. So going to change these numbers to 21 and 47. And then it's going to output it as my private key. I'll just fix that there. And I'm going to copy that into my clipboard and paste it in here. And you'll see here there's been a success. It has formatted the key and it's written it to my private key. The very last thing we need to do is export our public key. To export our public key, we don't need a wrapping key. We can just export it normally. Hopefully you wrote down your public key. Mine was 6, so I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste this. And then I'm going to go into terminal and export my public key, and that's been a success. I can now go into my command and quit. Maybe it's exit. Yeah, it's exit. And I'm going to go ahead and clear the screen. Okay, so if I type in ls, I'll be able to see both my private key and my public key here. And what I want to do is maybe I'll just rename my my public key to make it a bit more easy. So RSA 2048.pub.exp, and I'm just going to call it my public key. And there we go, it's been renamed. So we've got my private key, my public key, and my wrapping key. Now, what I want to do is I want to export this out of my EC2 instance over to S3. I am on a private instance at the moment, and if you remember, we have a VPC endpoint pointing to our S3 bucket within this VPC, so it won't traverse the internet. I could be doubly careful and just go in and disable my NAT gateway. I'm not going to do that though. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in AWS S3LS and figure out what bucket I want to put this in. I'll probably put it in my A Cloud Guru. I mean, we've got a bucket called A Cloud Guru My EC2 key pair. So I'm going to put it into my A Cloud Guru certificate bucket because I know there's no other private keys in there. Before I do that, I'm just going to clean up this directory. So I'm going to go in and delete some of my files. So I've deleted the RPM file. I'm going to go in and rm-rf, and I'm going to delete my customer cert, customer CA, because I don't need it anymore. And then I'm also going to go ahead and leave everything else as is. I'm going to clear the screen to make this easier. Present working directory is home EC2-user, and then again AWS S3LS, so I can get the name of my bucket. So now all I'm doing is typing AWS S3 and then copy, and then the present working directory, which is home, and then EC2-user, EC2-user, and then that is going to go over to my S3 bucket, which is called A Cloud Guru certificate bucket. And then I'm going to do everything within this directory. So it's recursive. And that has now uploaded my keys to my S3 bucket. Let's go ahead and confirm that. Okay, so I'm in the AWS console, going over to S3, and we can see my A Cloud Guru certificate bucket. If I scroll down, I'll be able to see, here we go, my private key and my public key and my wrapping key. I want to download my private and public key, so I'm going to go ahead and just go more and then go download as. So I want to download my private key and public key. Specifically, really, well, I want to download both. So let's go ahead and hit download. So that's downloading my public key. Then I'm going to click on my private key and go download. And so that has now downloaded my private key as well. So next thing we want to do is go over to EC2. So the next thing we want to do is go over to EC2. So if we go up over here, and I'm just going to close this. I'm going to go ahead and go to my key pairs. So in here. And then I'm going to go and import a key pair. And basically I'm going to go and load in my public key in here. So here it is, my public key. I'm going to go ahead and hit open. Because it's got this begin public key, it's going to have an error. So let's just delete that out here and then move it up. And then let's delete the end public key in here and hit delete. And I'm going to, instead of calling it the key pair name, my public key, I'm going to call it my HSM KP, key pair, and I'm going to go ahead and hit import, and there we go. I now have my HSM key pair in there. What we want to do is go ahead and test this now, so let's go and provision an EC2 instance using this key pair. I'm going to go and launch this using just a standard Amazon Linux AMI. I'm going to leave everything as default, but I am going to put it into my A Cloud Guru VPC, and I'm going to put it into my public subnet in here. I'm going to go ahead and hit next to add my storage, keep my tags as usual. The tag, I'm just going to say name, and then this is going to be Cloud HSM EC2 key pair, something like that. I'm going to go and add it to my existing security group. Going to use my WebDMZ security group, hit review and launch, and go ahead and launch. And I'm going to use my HSM key pair, which we generated using Cloud HSM. I'm going to go and launch that instance. That is now launching. Very next thing I need to do is go over to terminal, and I'm going to log into this EC2 instance, or at least try. Windows users, don't forget you've got to take that extra step of converting it into a PPK file. So you will need to run it through PuTTY Keygen, but after that you should be able to log in using this private key. Okay, so I'm logged into where I downloaded it. You can see my public key and my private key. The first thing I need to do is chmod my private key. So my private key. and I've just reduced it down to the minimum permissions that I need. And now what I need to do is SSH ec2-user and then go in, grab my instance IP address. So it's this one, Cloud HSM. I'm going to go ahead and grab the public IP address in here. So we're going to copy that in, paste it in here, -I, and then it was my private key. I'm going to hit enter. It's going to try and connect, hit yes, and there we go. We have now accessed our EC2 instance using a key pair that we generated using Cloud HSM. So we're almost done. I'm in my cluster right now. In here, we've got our cluster. If we click on this, we can go in and create another HSM, and we could add this into a separate availability zone. This would then give me high availability because I've got HSMs across. Then what basically Cloud HSM will go ahead and replicate my users and my keys to the other Cloud HSM. So I'll have a truly high availability. I'm not going to do that though. What I want to do is go in and delete this because this can get quite expensive, especially if I leave it running overnight. So I'm going to go in and click on my hardware security module. I'm going to go ahead and hit delete. I'm going to go ahead and delete it, and that will be deleting my hardware security module. Once that's deleted, I can then go in and delete the cluster, and then I can go and do everything from there. The other way we can clean up is just going over to EC2 and want to go in and start deleting my instances. So because I'm no longer going to be administrating the cluster, I can go in and delete, first of all, this instance that I just created now. So I'm going to go in and go actions, instance state, and then go in and terminate that instance. I'm going to go ahead and hit yes. So that's terminating that instance. You can hear my SSH window being a bit upset. So that is it for this lecture, guys. Once you have deleted your HSM, make sure you go in and delete the cluster, and then you're all good. So let's go and review everything that we've learned about Cloud HSM. I hope you had lots of fun playing with it. It is really, really cool technology, and you can go in and generate some really cool keys, and then only you would ever have access to these keys. Amazon or anyone else would not be able to touch it. So if you've got the time, please join me in the next lecture. Thank you.